And we're live.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay. So this is our
it's like,
first time recording on air, I think.
yeah.
So Jeff is in.
And yeah, I remember saying that you should take the laptop just in case a
World War
cataclysmic
First,
event takes place.
and well, we didn't get we did get a lot of stuff happening, but it's all in
Mhm.
our favor. It's not the end of the
Yeah.
world. It's in fact the beginning of the world.
Uh,
As
it's the end of the world for some people, I guess.
well, as long as it's the end of the world for our enemies, so it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny.
So we
Last
got
week before I left, you actually mentioned that you were looking forward to Macron crash and burn,
well,
and that's
being the soothsayer that I am, uh, I like how you just mentioned that I've been shitting on Macron a lot, especially in our last recording,
yeah.
last episode, and then this happens. It's like I just knew. I just knew the guy was just inches away from being like revolted on. So
Yeah.
first live recording because you're in Hong Kong and I'm still back home.
Mhm.
Just in case you haven't heard, you're on vacation. You might not have access to all the same news. Um, here's another reason for you to love Hong Kong even more. Soros was fined by Hong Kong over naked short sales.
Okay.
So there you go. You can gush about Hong Kong a bit more while you're still there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but in terms of even more losses occur, bigger, more significant losses occurred, incurred by the globalists is this whole, well, what people are calling the European Spring now.
Okay, I like it. Yeah.
And
Who?
what's your opinion on it? Because I've got a
Yeah.
lot I got a lot to say on this.
Yeah. Like Americans like to make fun of, especially the French, for having no spine. And
And
okay, here in America, we believe in freedom and holding our government accountable. Meanwhile, in France, there's a tax hike, and then they revolt and they've
basically burned the place to the ground.
yeah, and
I,
and
I
they actually made the government back down. That's the amazing thing.
and
The French government said, okay, we won't do the tax for 6 months, and then they like, no, revolt again, and then it's
yeah.
like, okay, we won't do the tax.
So do you think there'll be
And it's
a
like, holy shit, I didn't,
do you
yeah,
think there'll
I
be like
didn't
a
think that
fifth
was
week?
possible.
Do you think there'll
Oh
be a
yeah,
fifth week?
from what I hear, actually, I've been watching a couple of streams, and from what I understand, like even though week 4 wasn't nearly as strong as week 1, it's because of the holiday season, and it's expected to pick up again after the holiday season.
You know what would be nice is if like more people came out because nobody has to work.
Yeah, and also it's expanding. It's going into Belgium
Netherlands.
and Netherlands. Yeah,
Yeah, this is gonna be
I
great.
saw
This
I
is
saw a Facebook post just now about Canada, Yellow Vest Canada. They're starting to organize.
all right. It's time to buy the yellow vest.
Yeah.
I don't own anything in yellow. I feel so naked. But it's do you know what I think is the most significant thing about this? What is the game changer?
What would that be?
It's that it's these people are fucking normies. That they're not the Asian capitalists of the world. They're not they're not the white nationalists. They're not the outright. These are just fucking normies,
Working
and
class people. Yeah.
it's finally come back to full circles to what I was predicting. Like nobody gives a shit until
Mm.
their their lives are uh, directly affected by what's going on, and this France has taken that line too far, and the normies are revolting. It doesn't matter how you package all these atrocities thrusted upon the common people by the government anymore. Like even if it sounds good, when people cannot live like they want to, they're gonna revolt. Like even the normies are gonna revolt. And the fact this is huge to me because it solidifies my theory. Like I can see this in practice now, and that means that as this whole push for more control from the government, push for more, especially financial control and social control by the government, they're gonna start pissing off the normies, and this will happen everywhere. Like if it could happen in France with the history of surrendering, it could happen anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I look. It's really funny because you have to realize Macron delivered on a lot of his promises politically. He promised a revolution. It happened. He just didn't realize it was against himself. He promised, for example, he promised more solidarity. And the elites got more solidarity. But people voted for him because when they expected solidarity, they meant for themselves, not for other people. He promised tax hikes. I think he promised tax hikes.
Yeah.
But the thing was that the people voting for him just assumed that the tax hikes is going to be on other people, not them. Like that.
Yeah.
And he promised more Europe. People voted for that because more Europe sounds nice. But they've come to realize just in the past month that they only want more Europe in theory, not in practice. Because more Europe is in practice bad. And you know what? This is the straw that broke the camel's back. It's like, look, they want more being done on global warming. They want more people, the government to fight global warming. And that sounds nice. They voted for that. They just didn't realize it was going to be at their expense. So they don't want it anymore.
Okay, yeah.
So the normies are what's nice about the normies is that they're not as stupid as people think. Once it starts affecting their bottom line, they're going to revolt.
Yeah.
And we need that from them because they're the people who make who actually matter. They're the people who change the world in terms of numbers. But,
and now they're actually seeing the cost of all of these policies and how it affects them.
That
and it's like,
sounds nice, but all these policies that sound nice, but this is actually going to screw them. Now the world knows. And it just happened in one country after another country after another country. The dominoes have started falling. But
what do you make?
I don't quite get. One thing I don't quite get about the normie is why do you think they fall for all these like nice words? For example, like it's they seem to be very susceptible to stuff that sound like sound nice in theory, but is total garbage to themselves in practice.
Well, it's a utopian vision. It's like what if let's say John McAfee comes up to me and says, "Okay, I'm going to give you Bitcoin City in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's going to be funded by Bitcoin." It sounds great, and I might, a lot of Bitcoin enthusiasts would be on board. They'd be saying, "Oh, this is great," without finding out what the real price tag is.
I guess that's true. It's just human nature to just want to jump on the bandwagon of the utopia you support, I guess.
Yeah. What do you make, though, of the fact that both the left and the right have kind of come together to form this current protest in France?
I think it's what we need. Because you have to realize, if you're not counting the regressive left, they're the real problem in society right now, I believe. If you're not counting what they're doing, then right now the left and the right if you really think about it, have a lot in common. We want to fight crony capitalism. Like for example, we want capitalism, but we don't believe crony capitalism is, which is the current state of the world right now, is the right way to go.
Yeah. But then there are certain thought leaders in the, or self-proclaimed thought leaders in the movement, the Yellow Vest movement, who are on the left, who are saying, okay, we should also raise taxes on the rich. We should also do these policies to help the poor, et cetera, et cetera. So they're not exactly anti-tax libertarians, you know.
Oh, that's true, but in we're in desperate times right now. The globalist is like one piece away from forming Exodia and just winning the Yu-Gi-Oh tour, and sending and sending us to the shadow realms forever. So we sure we don't exactly we don't actually exactly like, I don't know, like Kaiba or Kaseto Kaiba or whatever, but we have to work together to at least topple the globalists first, and then we can have our like death match at the end of the tournament or something. Like we have to defeat the globalists first because we don't stand a chance alone against them. Whereas we look, we believe we libertarians and who are hoping for a true Capistan believe that we have the right ideas, and I believe we believe that we're going to win if the fight is fair. But currently, the fight against the powers that be are not fair. We're going to have to team up with our worst enemies, even if it's our worst enemies, in order to fight this battle. If we win the battle, we believe we stand a better chance against the left than the Illuminati.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, I don't even like saying the right ideas anymore. I just like saying the preferable ideas. These are the ideas that I find preferable, and I think a lot of people find preferable. Whether they're right or wrong is a debate for another time, I think.
Yeah, see. I think part of the issues we have is the fact that this goes back to the normie paradox. Is the normies are stupid, but they're not that stupid. The issue is, I think, our talking points are not. We don't dress it up well enough. It's one of those things that, like, our ideas sounds bad on paper, but it is actually good in practice. Whereas the left's ideas sound good on paper, but is terrible in practice.
Yeah.
So normies all like they just kind of wander to the left because it sounds good, and then they realize it's terrible, and then they revolt, and then inadvertently we gain power. I think that's how things. That's the dynamic of the cycle here.
So they're calling for Macron now. How do you think that's going to play out?
You just kind of broke up there. I'm going to need to say that again.
Oh, they're calling for Macron's resignation now.
Macron will never resign. I don't think he'll ever resign. He will, unless there's a vote of no confidence, which I believe there's a very high chance of that happening. Maybe not. Maybe not right now, but I'd only give him about like a 60% chance of finishing his own term. Which is actually pretty low. But he'll never. I don't think he'll ever resign. Because think about it. Right now, the powers that be need him around, even if he's besieged on all sides by enemies. Because Merkel's on her way out. She has to do all this. She has to set up a successor. She has to keep her party in line. She has to ensure that Germany doesn't just suddenly unravel on her watch. She can't really project power to keep everyone in the EU the rogue elements in the EU at bay right now. They need at least Macron to take on some of that load. They'll never let him resign.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is, with so much trouble at home, with the fact that he has to please people at home, so he doesn't get, like, I don't know, guillotined. He's really not going to have much of a handle on keeping countries like Italy, like Hungary, like Poland, like the Czechs. He's not going to have much ability to keep them in line, which means we'll see countries with solvent policies start to rise up. Like, they're going to start pushing back. They're going to be able to push back, especially with the EU Parliament elections coming up. I think the weird thing about
this is basically part 2 of the unstoppable momentum of populism, right?
It's
a whole series.
Yeah, it's just momentum. Like I told you, like I keep saying, like, momentum.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one thing that's really, like, weirding me out is the idea that the European Parliament is the people there. From what I hear, the EU loyalists, they just expect this session to be, oh, okay, it's going to be business as usual. We're going to take a break, go home. We're going to get our votes in. Everyone's going to come back, and things are going to be the same. Meanwhile, the road's ending, but it doesn't seem to matter to them. Like, it's like they live in another reality. I don't get it. Like, they have no sense of danger. Like, which is great for us. It's great, absolutely great for us. But it just baffles me. Like, how do you not have a grasp on the fact that the enemies are at the gate? Your enemies are at the gates.
I can't remember where I saw this today. Somebody had this post about how the ruling class and the ruled, right? They tend to be very in touch with the masses right after a revolution, but over time, as they get more and more power, and as all of those corrupt temptations come to them, the ruling class becomes more and more distant, and it's just a historical phenomenon.
Well, it's
to the point. Yeah,
I know it's a historical phenomenon, but on a human level, I don't feel like it makes sense, because, look, dude, like, one of the second strongest country in your union's fucking burning to the ground. How do you not react to that?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you can't not notice Paris was on fire. Like,
yeah.
I just don't get it. It's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
How do you get so out of touch that one of the major cities in the world is burning to the ground? You just don't notice.
Well, I wouldn't say they don't notice, but at the same time, there's also a sense of overconfidence that they'll figure it out somehow.
Well, I guess it's true that, well, when they say arrogance is the undoing of people.
Yeah. Do you think this shit could ever work in America? Could, for example, people get so up in arms that the government has to make all these concessions. Oh, we're not going to raise taxes anymore. And then potentially we might have to kick our president out of office.
Sure, if they start, like, taxing burgers or something. It's it's kind of the Chinese equivalent is if they started taxing dim sum, like if they had a dim sum tax, like our parents generation, who's very out of touch with politics, they would be like, taxes on my dim sum. And they were, but
what has happened to that American spirit of revolution? Because the Boston Tea Party was a 3% tax on tea, and that was a revolution.
Yeah, but you realize the 3% tax on tea, like, tea was a big deal back then. Like, tea would be taxing tea back in the day would be like taxing YouTube on, like, or your internet connection in 2018. Like this, it's with the changing of the ages. Like the things important to people have also changed. Like if you text tea nowadays, nobody gives a shit. Like whatever, I have coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I have Red Bull. Like there's all these alternatives. Like people don't really care about tea anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But this could happen anywhere. The point is, have you when have you? Where's the Rubicon? Where is the Rubicon of people's uh, ability to just stay quiet and accept the horrors done to their lives?
Yeah.
At which point are you stealing too much? Like if when you're stealing, when you pass that line, when that final like penny breaks the camel's back,
Yeah.
is when people will go up in arms. And I would say nobody could really know when that happens. It's like bubbles. It's like
Yeah. And I guess you could also
bubbles
say that life in America is still pretty good, even though freedoms have been slowly chipped away at. Life in America in general is still pretty good.
well, the bread and circus is still around. I mean,
Yeah.
The whole reason why the French revolted is because the bread and circus is over.
Yeah.
Precisely because of the bread and circus being ended. People are taxed to the point where they can no longer afford the bread or the circus. That's why people revolt. Like there's two ways to keep a population under control. One is you can either give them a life of luxury. Then if their stomachs are full, people can live without pride.
Yeah.
But and with pride, people could endure sufferings. But if they have neither, then people just don't give a shit anymore. They're gonna revolt.
Yeah.
So in the French's case, yeah, like they see the quality of life going down. This whole Europe project, this whole integration with other countries, surrounding countries that they've warred with in the past, and was completely it was sold on the promise that the people will have a better life. Your stomachs will be full and you'll be entertained. Your children will live better than you do. They were sold a promise of a good future, but when that future never materialized, well, then why should I? For what did we sell our sovereignty and pride for? Like, why did we give up? Yeah, like why did people why did people give up their prides just like for nothing? People are pissed. So yeah, I think this could absolutely happen everywhere, and we're gonna see that in Europe very soon. And I don't know how long it will take, but I'm just gonna be very generous to myself in terms of, is that's the EU won't last 10 years. I've said this multiple times, but this this is just going to be this domino effect, this chain reaction that this will end Europe one day. I don't know which day, because anybody who claims to be able to tell you when is the last straw that will cause revolutions to happen, or hell, like even bubbles to burst. Like nobody ever knows the real, like the trigger for the needle to pop the bubble or to pop the union. But it's inevitable. Like bubbles are gonna burst, and unions are gonna dissolve someday. But my timeline is that like within 10 years, this whole force of monetary slash integration project is gonna we finally have we'll be able to be done with it. We don't have to like listen to it on the news anymore. Like this. And you know what was funny is Trump did not play. He did exactly what I wanted him to. He didn't play nice. He went and shat on Macron.
Mhm.
Because I feel like he needs to do that. Like it's part of the thing we're still fighting and trying to fracture into even greater pieces is the narrative.
Right.
Macron has like approaching just 20% approval rating at home. His city's burning. His capital is burning. His country
Mhm.
is burning. His citizens are in open revolt. But the media talks about him like he's a rock star.
Yeah.
Like, and whereas sure, like you could say plenty of horrible things about Trump. I'm not going to say whether or not you're right or wrong, but you know what he doesn't have? Well, the Washington D.C. isn't burning for one. There's
Mhm.
no open revolts, and I'm pretty sure his approval rating is better than 20%. It's very easy to be better than 20%.
It's actually better than what Obama's was at the same point in his presidency.
So and yeah, and you have to you have to mention this to just normies, like point. This doesn't even need to. You're not challenging them about the road view in terms of what like Orange Man bad. You can just go up to an NPC and say, hey, isn't it weird that Macron has all like lower approval rating and all this shit going on in his country, and the media loves him. Like they
Yeah.
still talk about him as being a beloved leader, but he's not. He's clearly not. Like Trump's
Mhm.
doing better than him. Like, why is there this uh, difference of treatment? So I think if you present it this way, like normies, they just have to accept the facts. There is a bias. They might not mention it openly, but they will start thinking. It's like, hey, I guess there is a bias.
All right. Do you want to end it there, or do you want to?
Yeah, it's probably getting up to 12 over in Hong Kong now,
Yeah.
and apparently you start fading. I could see it. You're already
Yeah.
you fallen asleep already.
Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, I tend to wake up very early and sleep very early when I'm over here.
Well, I
It's
don't.
also it's all that walking too. Like I spend most of the day walking, so it gets pretty
Terrible,
tiring.
terrible. Exercise. Who the fuck does that? I was just talking to some people the other day. It's like once they invent true hoverboards, I'm never walking again. All right. I rarely get up this early. It's only I woke up at 6. I think was it? Yeah, I woke up at 6, but I'm gonna go back to bed.
Okay.
All right. See you later, buddy. You're
All right.
back on at 12.
Yeah, something like that, around there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll see
Yeah.
you. See you when you get back.
All right.
Peace.